Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Wharton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 156. This is your host, Holly Wharton. I'm here with today's special guest, Amy Lippmann. Amy is a former health coach and self-proclaimed health nut. After 5 years as a health coach, Amy merged her marketing roots with her passion for wellness by launching her company, Marketing for Health Coaches, where she's helped thousands of health coaches and nutritionists successfully get clients, grow their lists, launch online programs, and create high-converting websites. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Holly.
I'm excited to have you on the show. So why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your background and your business journey and how you got to where you are today with your business?
Oh, sure. Well, I guess my journey really started back in 2004. I was looking to improve my health, and I had heard about health coaches from a friend of mine. I didn't even know they existed, and she had had great results working with a health coach, and I got a referral to someone, and I lived in Boston at the time, and so I was a client of a health coach, and it was an amazing experience. I got really into healthy eating and wellness, and around that time, after I was a client, I started not feeling so challenged at my job. And I kind of often wondered, how often do people, become entrepreneurs because they've had a month or a few months, at their full-time gig. And they kind of haven't been feeling fulfilled and challenged and all of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So I was, it was a great job, but I wasn't feeling very challenged. And I also really love the idea of who doesn't, of having more freedom and more flexibility. And so I started researching the nutrition school that I went to, which was the same school that my health coach had gone to. And I looked into it and I was like, wait, I could do this, And so I signed up pretty quickly. I could be a fast decision maker, which sometimes my husband is not so thrilled about. He's more very careful. He has a hard time making decisions sometimes. Don't tell him I said that. But no, we balance each other out, so it's good, But yeah, in this case, I think he was a little bit like, wait, what just happened?
Are you going for a new career now?
Yeah, exactly. So I went to nutrition school, and I then started seeing clients, and things were going well, and I took the leap and I left my full-time job. I kind of eased out of it slowly, and we were also at that time planning a move from Massachusetts to North Carolina. So it all it worked really well together because I had to leave my job. And we felt confident about and comfortable with the move, given that I was going to leave my job anyway.
Now, was this an online business that you set up as a health coach, or were you seeing people on Skype or in person?
It was both. So I started out where if people were local, they could see me in person, and I made a little office in my condo and would see them there. But then I also worked with people who were local, where it was more convenient for them to just have coaching calls with me. And then I worked with people outside of my local area and worked with them by phone. So that worked really well.
And how did your business change after you moved? Because if you were seeing local clients, obviously you couldn't see them in person anymore. So how did your business change when you made that move from Massachusetts to North Carolina?
Yeah, it was really pretty seamless. I gave people advance notice and told them, we'd still be working together for those that, would still be in a program with me, and that we would just have our sessions by phone. And people were comfortable with that and fine with that. And so I just, continued coaching them, and then working on, once we moved, I was working on building connections here in North Carolina and getting clients here as well.
Excellent. So how did you make that shift from just being a kind of pure nutritionist health coach to the online business stuff? How did that happen?
Yeah. So when let's see, I'm trying to think here. So about 4.5 years into health coaching, and I did transition to working part-time as a health coach after having my first daughter. So I didn't go from being a full-time health coach to not health coaching, but I was doing it part-time. And it was at a stage where I was putting a lot of renewed energy into my health coaching business. I was working with a couple of coaches on the business side. I was doing market research and rebranding and really rethinking my niche and what I wanted to focus on. And right around, sort of in the middle of all of that, I started to notice that the types of things that I enjoyed and wanted to spend my time doing and learning about were the things that other coaches wanted to avoid. Often friends and clients, still to this day say to me, I wish I could just coach. I just want to coach. I just want to help people. I don't want to deal with all of the other things. And, of course, I can't completely take that off of people's plate, right? But what excited me was the idea of being able to just do more of the things that I loved. And while doing that, helping other health coaches. So I put out some feelers to some coaches that I knew and said, hey, would you be interested in working with me? I started out just working one-on-one with health coaches and nutritionists. And then, my business has changed a lot in the last 5 years, but, I felt comfortable taking the leap because before I did, I had, I think 3 clients, lined up who wanted to work with me one-on-one. Yeah. And then I hired a team. I, added people on as I needed different skill sets and different levels of support. And yeah, that's kind of how I took that leap.
So you do a lot of done for you packages and programs and things for health coaches. Is that correct?
Correct. And the reason for that is because, as I said, I started out working one-on-one and I really liked that. But what happened was I started to notice how much it was costing these coaches to, I would help them launch an online program, or I would help them put on a webinar. I would help them with their website, or prepare for a talk. And all these things were costing them so much money. And for some of my clients, their businesses, they were more seasoned and they had, really nice levels of revenue coming in. But for a lot of them, I didn't even feel like it was making business sense for them to be spending the kind of money that they were having to spend. And so that's when I sort of came up with the idea of the first package I came up with was a ready to launch cleanse and detox program. And the idea was I had worked with so many coaches to help them launch their cleanses and detoxes. It was a primary thing that people wanted help with. And I said, well, why don't I take everything that I've learned and put together a program that, would be easy for people to implement and save them a ton of time and save them a ton of money. And so that's kind of been a driving force for me as my business has evolved, is how do I make something more accessible and easier so that coaches can actually be profitable and successful in their businesses.
Now, do you think that when you were setting up your business as a health coach, do you think that was easier because you had this marketing background?
Well, I did have experience in the marketing field before I was a health coach, but not nearly as much as I have now. But I think that some people kind of just, they're more comfortable with it and they enjoy it more and they want to learn. about it. Like our brains all work differently. So, for example, I've never been good at science. I can't retain that kind of information. I don't understand it. I don't know what it is about how my brain works. Whereas my husband, he loves science, and he's great at it.
Yeah.
So I think that, probably you're right. And that's something I hadn't thought about before, which is that, just my natural inclination and to kind of get it and be able to absorb and then just use what I learn and watch what other people are doing and take what seems to not copy what other people are doing, but,
learn
watch,
from their
kind of learn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Good. So one of the things I want to talk to you about today was how to grow your business from speaking, because you've got this really fascinating done-for-you speaking kit on your website. And, I can tell that speaking is something that's really important for you in building your business and how you help your clients build their business. So what would you say are your top tips on how to grow your business from speaking?
First is, doing it is just, I think it's the fastest way to get clients. That's, first just want to kind of like plug the topic, because I think that we, as, health coaches and any kind of coach, this really applies to any kind of coach or consultant, is there's so much information out there, right? Of things that we should be doing or could be doing to grow our business or to get clients, to build our list. And it's overwhelming. And I really feel strongly that speaking, if it's something that you're open to, that speaking should be like top on your list of things that you should be doing. And it's because when you speak, and whether that's a local in-person talk at, professional association or a yoga studio, or whether it's a webinar that you host for your list or you get in front of someone else's list, speaking is something that very quickly builds a relationship between you and your audience. It's much quicker. I'm sure you experience this with your podcast, it's much quicker than blogging.
Yeah.
And blogging is great, and that's, I focus on blogging too in my business, but there's something about speaking that just because you're there, your voice is there, that people can really get a sense of your personality, and it gives you the opportunity to give people a taste of what you're about, share value, and then people have that sense of reciprocity where they, want to quote unquote pay you back because you've given them value. And also, it's just such a fast way to get clients. A lot of the coaches that I work with are in, not all, but a lot of them are in a stage where even if they've been in business for a while, it's how can I get more clients, or how can I get more participants in my cleanse or detox or online program? And I talk with them about speaking a lot, because if they were to speak regularly or do like a push right before an online program launches where they did a bunch of speaking, that is just such a fantastic way to promote a program. So yeah, I just had to give that little get off
why this is important
pulpit now. But
so what do you think are the most effective kind of platforms to speak on? So you mentioned, local in-person talks, webinars, obviously this is the podcast. What do you think are the most important platforms or places to speak, either online or offline?
Well, I think that, really, I guess my main tips are, in terms of that, are going to be that whatever it is, you want to be speaking to ideal clients. Obviously you're going to have some people in your audience who aren't, and that's fine. We can't control it all. But as much as possible, you want to be speaking in places. If you're speaking locally, you want to be speaking to groups or in places that do attract the types of people that you want to work with, and the types of people who, are struggling with the kinds of things that you help people with. So that's number one. And in terms of on the online front, platforms to speak, I focus on sort of the webinar or teleseminar mode. And I think with there, you kind of have two options. You've got speaking to your own list. If you have a list that you've built of subscribers, definitely starting there, because it is. I mean, I do many webinars throughout the year, and, with the goal of providing value and, giving back to my audience, and frankly, letting them know and making invitations about programs that I have to offer. So that works really well. And if you want to reach beyond your list, like you've got a list, but you want to add to your list, or you don't yet have much of a list to market to, then partnering up with someone who works with a similar audience as you, but doesn't offer the same exact thing as you, and having them host you on a webinar is incredibly powerful. And I've done this with colleagues, and, I've hosted them and they've hosted me, and it's been such a great way to build my list and also to, enroll people in programs.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I think that's a really important point about how wherever it is that you speak, it needs to be getting yourself in front of people who might actually work with you, because they're the people who are going to be most likely to sign up for your programs, but also the people who are going to be most likely interested in what you have to say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you just kind of go down to the local bookshop and, do a talk on coaching or whatever, people may or may not be interested. That's a really wide audience that you're, putting yourself.
It's true. And I mean, your topic, and that's another tip. I'll circle back to that, but your topic will also self-select, right? So that your people are going to go if the topic resonates with them, and they won't if it doesn't, most likely. Because most of us don't have lots of free time to be going to talk.
Yeah.
But you want to draw a crowd wherever you're speaking. So if you plan a talk somewhere that doesn't really attract your ideal clients, and the topic then isn't going to resonate, and you're not going to get you're not going to get bodies in the seats, most likely.
Yeah.
But I do think it takes experimenting. Like you can do as much targeting as you can in terms of locally really thinking about, for example, if you want to target athletes, you might speak at a running group, like a local running group. We have them here. I'm sure they're all over the place. Or if you're targeting moms, you might speak at like a mother's group or mother's club kind of meeting. So there are ways to target. But, I also am a fan of, speaking at Whole Foods, or speaking at yoga studios, and, places that are broader, and experimenting and seeing. I did a lot of experimenting in those early days, and seeing, like, it was a little bit of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what would stick. Right. And then I would every so often I would just take stock of, like, hey, what have I been doing, and what's been most effective, and what do I want to do more of, and what do I not want to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point, because if you have the time and you can do this, as many talks as you can, it gives you practice, and it helps you craft your message as well.
Absolutely. And sometimes, like, just getting in front of, like, an audience you don't care so much about in the beginning, not that we don't want to care, but right. You don't necessarily want to make your first talk be in front of, like, 50 ideal clients, right? Let's do some, like, practice talks first.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you mentioned topic earlier. Yeah. How do you find the best topic? I mean, I think for most entrepreneurs, there's so many things you could talk about. How do you find the right kind of juicy topic that people are actually going to want to sign up for?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was, like, top on my list of things to talk about, because, right, if you don't get the topic right, then everything else fails. Not to put fear in people's heads, but just to say, like, it's not something to take lightly. Right?
Exactly.
You want to spend time really thinking about your topic.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting alone on your webinar.
Yeah, totally. And the big thing is speaking on what your audience or your ideal clients care most about. And combining that with what you're most passionate about. So if your audience, if people say, I have this conversation about weight loss a lot with clients because, as you can probably imagine, in the nutrition world, like that's a biggie, right?
Yeah.
And there are some coaches who love talking about weight loss and helping clients with weight loss. And there are other coaches who are like, I hate it. I just don't want to do this. So, in that case, even if your audience is saying, I want help with weight loss, if that's not your thing and you don't want to be doing that, you don't want to give a talk about that either.
Yes.
You need to figure out what is that number 2 pain point maybe for people. But basically it's, what is the top question that you get asked? And then, your content, what you're teaching is based on, as a coach, your individual, your nutritional philosophy and what you know and what you teach your clients. But in terms of the broader topic, you want it to be really focused on that main pain point or that main desire that your audience cares most about. And not just something you're passionate about,
Yes.
because I've had that conversation a lot with clients where, and they don't know right off the bat, where they'll say, oh, I really want to talk about, wellness and, something very general.
Yeah.
To them, it feels very specific and they're very passionate about it. And I love that. But we've got to zoom that in to okay, how will that actually help your audience with their main pain point? And then that's what your talk is about.
Excellent. Excellent. So do you have any other top tips on how to grow your business from speaking?
So, yeah, I definitely do. In terms of the content, I know this is a question a lot of people have, which is how much should I share? And, how long should it be and all that? I'm a big fan of the 60-minute talk, which is from start to finish, because I think after 60 minutes, you start to lose people.
Oh, yeah.
So that includes your intro and telling your story and, and then doing your teaching and making an offer at the end. And, in terms of teaching points, I find that 3 to 5 teaching points is that sweet spot of where you want to be, because otherwise you overwhelm people.
Yes.
And I talked to so many coaches who, and I felt this way too, of I have to show my value. And the best way for me to show my value is by, sharing more and more and more. I just want to share everything I know.
And that's so overwhelming.
It is. And, I don't know who hires a coach that overwhelms them, right? We want to hire people who definitely share great information and know a lot, but we want to work with people when it comes to coaching, right? We want to work with people who make us feel more relaxed, more at ease, there's a step-by-step plan that this isn't going to be difficult. So actually less is more.
Yes. Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of throwing everything at people, not so much in talks, but in online programs, just way too much.
Yeah, we've all been there. Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Sure.
So, Amy, tell us a little bit more about this Done For You speaking kit, because I saw that on your website, and I think it sounds like a really great solution for people who are interested in speaking.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So our Done For You speaking kit is designed to just make it super easy for particularly health and wellness entrepreneurs to get out there and give talks. Because the thing that I saw happening was I would talk to coaches, they would say, how do I get more people in my programs? Or how do I build my list? How do I get more clients? And I'd say, you want to give talks, definitely focus on giving talks. And they would say, well, what should I talk about? And, and they wanted reviews of scripts and things like that. Again, I talked about in the beginning, to do that kind of work one-on-one, it's very costly. And so I thought, well, why don't I put a package together that just gives them everything? And so it basically gives the marketing piece of getting people to the talk itself so that you're wowing people when they're there. So slide and scripts and all that good stuff. how to make the offer at the end is all scripted out. 'Cause that's a biggie for people. It's like, how do I word that? And what do I say? And, how do I say it so that it doesn't feel too salesy? And how do I say it so that it's effective? Like, how do I make an offer so that people actually bite and they take advantage of it? So we've scripted all of that out. And then it's basically just like a plug and play system where you can use the talks that we provide, or you can use them as a template for any other topic that you want to do. And it has all of the promo emails to promote the talk. So you're actually getting people there. It has a flyer template, beautiful flyer template, and a sample blog post and social media posts. And so it's really like a comprehensive kit that, again, you can use as is, or you can use it as is, and then in the future, and you develop a new talk. It's like, here's this whole system. Now just plug and play and create a new talk and use all this material for that.
Interesting. So what other kinds of packages do you have for people? You've got your ready to launch, the cleanse detox. You're still offering that, right?
Correct. Yep, we're still offering that. And then we have our list building made easy program, which is just a comprehensive step-by-step program of how do you grow your list, and how do you actually, not just how do you grow your list, but how do you grow your list and convert your list to becoming paying clients.
Yeah.
And then we have our high converting website package. And that's the thing we are really excited about, because it's a much more affordable package than what we used to offer and what is commonly found. And it's specifically designed for coaches with like done for you website copy and homepage templates and all that good stuff.
Wow. Excellent. Yeah. Websites can be so expensive.
They can. Yeah. And overwhelming. And, a lot of people want to try to do it themselves, and which I'm not opposed to, but
that's not always a good idea.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can be done. Not always recommended.
Right. It's like, what's the cost benefit analysis,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Amy, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women entrepreneurs who inspire you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So one of my former mentors is Natalie Lucier. I was in her, she doesn't offer it anymore, but I was in her Daring Business Cultivator Mastermind a few years back. And I've been following her and done various things with her throughout the years. And she's just so real and so down to earth. She has totally pivoted in her businesses like multiple times, not afraid to switch it up. And like, I think that's a big thing as an entrepreneur is like, oh, what if, I stop doing X and I do Y, and people are going to be pissed off, or they're going to think, who does she think, So she's just such a great model. I also love Amy Porterfield. Just, she's also seems so down to earth, and the quality of her content just constantly amazes me, like every podcast I listen to, it's like, wow, even if it's a topic I know a fair amount about, or a topic that, I don't know if I should spend my time listening to this. It's not a big concern of mine right now. I always get like major ahas from her. And then, someone who probably isn't so well known just in general is a functional nutritionist named Andrea Nakayama. She actually doesn't work privately with people, but I happen to still work with her. We have kind of a long standing relationship, and her business is Replenish PDX and Holistic Nutrition Lab. And her knowledge is her business has skyrocketed, and she works all over the world with people, and her knowledge is just unparalleled. And the extent to which she is able to help people with their health issues that have been unresolved by, countless other practitioners is just amazing. And the amount of content that she creates a program, like just really unique, powerful programs that she creates. I'm just really inspired by her.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. We'll add links to in the show notes to all three of them. Yeah. So, Amy, where can people find you online if they want to learn more about you?
Oh, great. Yeah. You can find me at marketingforhealthcoaches.com. That's my website. And then on Facebook, we're Marketing for Health Coaches. So that's the page where you can find us. It's just Marketing for Health Coaches, no spaces or anything. And on Twitter, I'm Lippmann Amy. It's a tricky name to spell. When I got married, I was like, oh, I'll have to change my name. But I went from Jacobs to Lippmann. So it's 2 P's and 2 N's.
Yes.
So it's Lippmann.
Yes. When I Googled you earlier, I Googled, because I couldn't remember your exact URL, and so I just Googled Amy Lippmann. I knew it was 2 N's and 2 P's, but then Google tried to tell me, is it Amy Lippmann with 1 N? And I was like, no, that's not the one I want. I don't know who that is, but I don't want that one.
Yeah,
I got it right.
Yeah.
And you're also on Pinterest, correct?
Yes. And then Pinterest, it's Amy J. Lippmann.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, same here. Thank you so much for having me, Holly.
You're welcome. And thank you for listening. And remember to visit hollywharton.com/156 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.